Hello everybody, UB here, and it's been a while. Since we last got together, I have started a online shop where I'm selling various handmade goods, stickers, all that good stuff. But today we're going to talk about the bat packs that I've been making. They're these super cute little hand purses that are shaped like bats. We're going to talk about how to make them because I'm going to be putting out little kits that you can buy in order to make one yourself, where I've already cut out all of the fabric, you have all of the pieces you need. You just get to put it together. So with all that being said, let's get started. So making a backpack, you'll have a lot of fleece and some wool, and you're going to start out with this fleece piece that is going to be made into a pocket for the front where you can put your cell phone, your keys, just about anything you want that is easy to reach. I cut this out the way I did so that the top has a little bit more of a indent cut out of it so that you could roll it over twice and then make an extra line of stitching so that you have a finished pocket once you're done folding over all of the edges and sewing along the very edge of that piece. At the top, you'll have 2 lines of stitching, and that just is a very traditional look for a pocket to have. And that way, as you're sewing, you know which end is supposed to be the top of the pocket. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but it did make it look very sharp when I was making these. So you can see that extra line of stitching at the top, and then we're going to take the body, which is the larger piece of fleece, and we're going to line the pocket up on there. Now, I'm pinning a lot extra as I go through this because if you're not into sewing or you haven't made one of these before, you might want to use more pins than I actually use in my process. I have made about 40 of these at this point, so I don't really use a lot of pins, but your pocket is going to want to be about 1.5 to 2 inches from the top of your bat, and the top is where you're going to pull the drawstring closed. Keep in mind that that is the orientation that we're working with here. The top is where the drawstring is going to go, and the bottom is where we're going to later round this out to make a body shape and put the head there. So you're just going to sew around the edge of the pocket on one piece of that body fleece in order to get it connected to the body, and you can go back and forth on the upper lips of the pocket in order to add a little bit of extra hold and extra strength in those more high pressure points. You can see me doing that here, and I do that throughout the different pieces of the project. Next, we're gonna make the wings, and there's a little bit of satin here that makes the wings extra shiny, and you're going to be taking that part of the wing and folding it in half so that we're creating a vein that's going to pop out of the wing. Basically, you fold it in half so that the shiny side is facing out, and then you sew a line about 1/4 inch from the edge of that fold down to where the flat part of that cutout ends. So once we unfold them here, we're going to see that that creates a little bit of a pop out vein, and you have to cut them apart. I really strung everything together, but make sure to trim all of your excess threads at the base of that line of stitching. From there, when we fold it out, I didn't really show you much, but now it's about the same dimension and shape as the piece of fleece that we're going to work with. We're just doing a line around the outside edge of these guys to put them together, to sew them together. And we're going to leave the base of the wing, that flat part that's facing inwards on this shot, we're going to leave that open in order to be able to turn it inside out once we're done sewing them together. So you can see here, I've sewn them together, and we're going to just trim all of the excess fabric. You can make the base of the wing a little bit flatter if that makes your brain happy like it does mine. I also did some little snips in the more curvy parts of the wing, just up to the point where the line of stitching is, just because that'll make it fold and move a little bit better on the inside, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And then once everything is sewn together, you can pull it inside out, And you might want to use a pen or another tool to help you make sure that those corners of the wing are really turned out well. And then once they're all turned inside out, we're going to create this like bone in the wing with just a simple line of stitching about ½ inch from the top of the wing itself, just following its natural shape. You can see that they're done here, and you can trim the bottoms, the bases of them if you would like, but really, once you've trimmed your threads, this is what the wings are supposed to look like. This is a pink version, and basically I'm trying to show you how you're supposed to line up the wings here. You want to make sure that the points are going the correct direction. They're going to meet on that pocket once you're done, and then you're going to line up the base of the wing to be the middle of the base should line up with the bottom edge of your pocket. And then you can pin everything where it needs to go and sandwich it between the other body piece of felt. So basically we're gonna be making sure that the body sandwiches the wings into it so that we're not making extra lines of stitching or doing anything that we don't need to be doing. And here you can see I've put in some pins just to make sure that everything stays together. And we wanna make sure that those wings are tucked in tight. And when we go to sew the body pieces together, we want to make sure there's about 1.5 inches of space at the top before we start to sew, because that's where your drawstring is eventually going to go in. We need to leave space for it. And then as you go past the wing, you want to make a big curve at the bottom there. Come around, and that's going to create the shape of the body. And then again, leave that little space at the top as you come around and finish the other side. Once you're done with that, you just take off all of the excess fabric, and you have another piece, muslin, that is very similar in shape and size. That is going to be your lining, your inner lining of the bag. So just do the same thing with that same sort of shape, and we can turn the body back inside out so that you can see. Now the wings are all put together with the body, and eventually we'll be tacking the tips of the wings to the pocket there. Moving on for the moment, we have to make the head of the bat separately. So I'm showing you all of the different pieces that you'll need for the head, and you will need a seam ripper as well. The eyes might come with this little bit of plastic on them. You can take it off, but the eyes are made of a resin pupil and this glittery, shiny paper that gives the eyes that glitter and that sparkle. And then I have also included a pad to go behind each eye. They just kind of add this little bit of cute personality, so you don't have to use it. What I basically do is I take a seam ripper and make a very little hole in the middle of it, and then I'm able to stick the post of the eye through that hole and just trim around the eye so that it's around the same shape. Now this is the back piece of your eye, and once we get the head put together, we'll be able to stick those eyes on. So first we're going to prep the ears. You're just making a simple stitch all the way around the shape of the ear and then trimming off any excess. And then we're going to take the shapes for the head. We're going to take one piece of that fleece and we're going to pin these ears so that they face inside of the head. This is another scenario where we're going to be turning it inside out eventually. And you can add a little fold to the ears to make them have a cute little shape, but you don't have to, again. Some extra pins may be helpful in this endeavor. When you do sew all the way around the head, make sure to leave a little 1-inch spot where you haven't sewed it together, just so that you can pull the piece out and flip it inside out once you're done trimming all of the excess fabric. You can see the hole that I left, and basically I just grab one of the ears and pull until it comes out. And then you can see the little indent that fold in the ears makes, and we're going to take our seam ripper again and line up where we want our eyes to be. I just set the eyes on the head and then I know where I want them to be, so I'll line up my seam ripper with the post of the eye and just make a little hole in that spot. And I'll do one eye and then I'll look at the other one and get it all ready to go. Now is where we get to install the eyes, and basically this little back piece needs to go inside of the bat head. So we push that in there and then we push the post of the eye through that little hole that we just made in the head, and we pinch the back of the eye and the front of the eye together. And that makes it so that these safety buttons won't come out of the head accidentally. They're less of a hazard for small children, and they're actually very easy to use once you get used to them. Next, we're going to stuff the head. And I used the scraps from the project in order to stuff the head. If you buy a backpack kit, you will also have a little bag of the scraps that I used, but you could also use polyfill or whatever makes your heart happy here. And then we're going to hand sew that little opening closed. Now, as far as the body goes, we need to get back to this. We're going to fold the wings in and stick the main body inside of the inner lining. And then we're going to pin each side so that the opening, the top, is pinned together so that we can do a simple line of stitching across the top, and then once that's done, we can pull it inside out through the holes that we've left for the drawstrings so far. You can see it coming out and it makes kind of a weird shape at this point, but you can tuck the inner lining inside of the bat body, and then it starts to make a little more sense. Once you've done this, you could leave it this way, but to make it a little more finished, what you can do is either pin down or just take your sewing machine and do a very simple line of stitching across the top, as close to the top as you can get it, and then you can also do a line underneath where the drawstring will go. Just make sure that you don't clip that pocket that we worked so hard to create. You don't want to accidentally sew it shut. So these are the last 3 lines of stitching really, because there's one on one side, one on the other, and then one all the way around in order to really finish the backpack with your sewing machine. You could do all of this by hand. I choose to do it with a sewing machine. Once you've got all of that finished, you're basically creating a channel for the drawstring to go through. It does make it a little easier to string, but it also just makes it look a little bit more finished to do this part. Doing the drawstring itself is a little bit tricky, and it's hard for me to explain, so I thought that I'd show it instead. There are a lot of tutorials online that can help you with this as well, but basically I take my drawstring and I use a paper clip, because a paper clip is easier to find if you're feeling through the channel that we just created. If you're feeling through the fabric to find your end, you can find a paper clip easier than you can find just the end of the drawstring. We string it through one side, and then we leave a little bit of a tail so that we can tie that off later. And we string it through the other side, again, leaving a little bit of a tail just so that we can tie it off in a little bit. Just pull it through the first side again and pull it tight, and then pull it through the second side again. And this will give you your final end piece, your final tail to tie together. And then you're just doing a double knot on each side and trimming off the excess. And then you have your drawstring. Ta-da! Now, I'm going to be using liquid stitch, which is a fabric glue. I use this because I made 40 of these bats at once. You don't necessarily have to use it, but it does add a little bit of structural rigidity to the bat, and it helps you make sure that your placement of the wingtips and the head are both what you would like to see. Once our bat head is fully finished, we can make its placement on the actual body, and I used the glue in order to make sure that the placement was right. Now you just have to do a little bit of hand sewing to tack the ends of the wings to the pocket. Make sure not to sew the pocket shut. You just want to go through the pocket itself and not the bat's body. And then you can also hand sew all the way around the bat's head and you're done. Voila! And then you have your very own bat purse, whether you want to put dice in it or your wallet or your keys or your phone or snack. I mean, there's a million different uses for this handy little bag. And that's why I've been selling them on my store. They do bring me a lot of joy, and I know that they bring a lot of other people joy as well. If you'd like to get one, you can buy either the full bat or you can buy a kit to make your own. Link in the description. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the video. It means a lot. It's been a long time and I really love making videos for you guys. So I'm gonna give you 1,000 experience points just for that. Thank you so much to my patrons, Mark, Nathaniel, Twyla, and Liam. You guys are rock stars. And if you're interested, if you're a fan of the channel, I do have merch out now, which is also in my link tree, which will be in the description. And the print quality is very nice. It hasn't rubbed off, and I've washed this shirt many, many times. Feel free to check that out. As far as the future of the channel goes, I'm not making any promises. I'm really just looking forward to creating things again. Have a good rest of your day. Don't forget to drink some water, and I'll talk to you again soon. Peace.